Hey everyone, gearing up for the IELTS? Then you know writing task 1 can be a bit tricky. Today, we're going to absolutely master one of the most common types, the line graph.
Does a chart full of intersecting lines make your head spin? Do you struggle to figure out where to even begin? Well, you are definitely not alone. It's a huge hurdle for so many test takers.
But what if I told you there's a simple 4-step formula you can use to crush any line graph every single time? Well, there is, and that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So, here's our game plan. We'll dive straight into the 4 key steps, starting with analysis and the intro, then the all-important overview, how to structure the body paragraphs, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the keys to success. Let's get started. All right, let's get into that formula for success. This isn't just a list of tips, it's a reliable structure you can lean on when that clock is ticking in the exam room. Think of this as your blueprint for a high-scoring answer. And here they are, the 4 core steps: analyze, introduce, overview, and detail. It sounds simple, and that's the whole point. We're going to break down exactly what to do at each stage, starting from the very top. First up, analysis and the introduction. Think of this like laying the foundation for a house. If you get these first 2 steps right, the rest of your essay is going to be so much more solid and way easier to build. Before you write a single word, you've got to answer 3 questions. First, what is the chart actually measuring? Is it money, percentages, people? Second, what are the units? Dollars, percent, thousands? This is so critical for accuracy. And third, what's the time frame? If it's all in the past, say from 2001 to 2010, you know you're going to be using the past simple tense. Next up, the introduction. Your only job here is to paraphrase the prompt. Don't add data, don't add opinions. Just rewrite it in your own words. Take a look at the example here. On the left, the original prompt starts with "the chart shows." On the right, see how we've changed it to "the line graph illustrates." Average annual expenditure becomes the average amount of money spent annually. Simple, effective, and a perfect start. Let's move on to step 3, the overview. This is arguably the single most important paragraph. It's where you show the examiner that you understand the main story of the graph. For the overview, you're like a detective looking for 2 key clues. First, what are the overall trends? Are things generally going up, down, or fluctuating? And second, look at the magnitude. That's just a fancy way of asking, is there one line that's clearly the highest for most of the time, or one that's consistently the lowest? You just need to find 1 or 2 of these key features to create a fantastic overview. And here's a brilliant example of a perfect overview sentence. It identifies 2 opposite trends, one line going up, the other going down. Using a word like while is a fantastic way to combine these key features into a single complex sentence that's going to impress the examiner. Okay, now for the part where strategy really comes into play, writing your detailed body paragraphs. This is where you'll present the specific data points.
The biggest challenge is deciding how to organize all the numbers and trends. Should you go year by year or talk about each line one at a time? A random approach will just lead to confusing essay. So, what's the logical way to group the information?
And this right here is the secret weapon. This is the single most important strategic decision you'll make, and this slide gives you a simple rule that will save you so much stress. The best way to organize your paragraphs depends on how many lines are in the graph. If you have 3 lines or fewer, you divide by time. More than 3, you group by trend. Let me show you exactly how that works.
Let's break down that first case. Imagine you get a nice, simple graph with just 1 or 2 lines. Your strategy for organizing the paragraphs here is really straightforward and logical.
You basically split the timeline in half. In your first body paragraph, you describe everything from the start year to the middle of the period. Compare the starting points and describe the initial trends. Then, in your second paragraph, you cover the second half of the period, describing the later trends and comparing the final data points. It's a clear, logical, chronological story.
But what about those more complex graphs with, say, 4 or 5 lines? Splitting the time period would get really messy really fast. So we need a different strategy.
For these more complex charts, your strategy is to group the lines based on their general behavior. In your first body paragraph, you might discuss all the lines that trended upwards. Then, in the second paragraph, you tackle the lines that went down, or maybe stayed flat. This method turns a potentially chaotic graph into a crystal clear comparative analysis.
All right, we've just built the entire formula from start to finish. Now let's do one final quick recap to really lock these 4 steps into your memory.
Remember the formula.
First, analyze the prompt. Paraphrase it for your introduction. Identify the main trends for your overview. This is critical for your task achievement score. And for the body paragraphs, choose your strategy. Divide by time for simple graphs or group by trend for complex ones. This structure is your key to a high coherence and cohesion score.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. A lot of students stress about finding fancy vocabulary, but the real key to a high score in Task 1 is a clear, logical structure. Master the framework we've talked about today, and you will present the information clearly and effectively. Focus on the structure, and you will be well on your way to success on your IELTS exam. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck.